I just printed these sweet new latches, 3D printed, for the Milwaukee Packout system. You can see just straight down on the bed. It looks really nice. This is my network tools box, and people on Mastodon wanted to know what's inside. So here we go, let's have a look. All right, so this is my label maker of choice. This is the Brother P-Touch Edge. I saw a Cameron Gray video on this thing, and there you go, there's the model number if you want to see it. And all of the labels that I need for this thing fit perfectly. And this device just so happens to be the exact perfect thickness that when I bring down the lid of the Packout, it just gently, and I do mean gently, squeezes on the top of this thing. And so it won't move about anywhere whilst I'm traveling or carrying this case around. And then there's a ton of space for like all the labels. It takes all of these sort of cartridges, pretty standard Brother label maker cartridges, I think. At the back I've got room for the power supply to charge this thing because it has a built-in battery. Then I also have a sort of punch down, I suppose, like crimper thing. So you put a keystone jack in here and then you can wire cables up. It's come in handy a couple of times. This is the Unify SFP Wizard. It's a fairly new addition to the toolbox. Just to, you know, copy and paste different SFP transceiver configurations between different devices. It was $50. I don't know if it was worth it, but maybe there'll come a time where it will be worth it. All right, so I have a Landscout Junior 2 cable tester. Pretty basic, but pretty handy if you're crimping cables. A little knife, a little nylon spudger. Another 3D printed pot here for another label maker cartridge, because I've got different sizes. So this one is a 24mm compared to the 12mm that was in there before. A bunch of the Cat 6A monoprice super slim patch cables. I only pretty much run with those cables on my switches. Absolutely love these cables. Okay, what else have we got in here? This is really interesting. So this is like a punch down tool. You put your cable into one of the keystone jacks, which we'll get to shortly, and it kind of slices off the end of the cable. Pretty handy little thing to have. This is a little, I suppose it's basically a knife. You put your cable in here and then you spin it round and it cuts the sleeving off of Ethernet cables and stuff. Again, pretty handy to have. I've had this now, this crimper tool. This is a Klein Tools something or other. I got it from Home Depot pretty much the week I emigrated to America. I don't love it, but you know, it does the job. You stick your cable in there, and I use these. I didn't actually show you this bit. I use these pass-through Cat 6A capable, because I have some Cat 6A in this house. In my infinite younger wisdom, I ran the most beefy cable I could find and absolutely regretted it, but this makes them bearable to work with. A little bit of electrical tape, probably need to get some more. A USB-C to gigabit adapter because MacBooks and the dongle life. Now what you probably won't have noticed is that these three trays here are all 3D printed, because underneath I have my fiber box. Now I've got another little punch down tool here. It's one of the clicky ones. Anyway, when you're punching down cables and stuff, that's a really useful tool to have as well. So now this is a little fishing tackle box, I think, from Walmart of all places. Again, I've got dozens of these things throughout the house. But, you know, this is where I keep all of my fiber stuff. And a bunch of random blanks, apparently. Yeah, I've got a couple of, not quite sure if these are faulty transceivers, so I've sort of separated them out into this bag for testing, maybe with my SFP Wizard. There you go. And just in here, I've got a bunch of SFP Plus 10 gig adapters, little blanking plates for patch panels, the little pluggy boys for fiber SFP adapters and all what have you. Because this box is sealed, I don't worry too much about plugging up these ends. But if I have an open slot on a switch, then I will plug it up. The other thing is that I find that, you know, sometimes if you don't have a spot for these kinds of things to live, you know, you end up in a situation where, well, where do I put this random little thing? And so now I'm able to just plug up this hole here without really worrying too much about, you know, it's like a place for everything and everything in its place type deal, you know? And so there we go. This now fits rather nicely in the bottom of this pack out. And it just so happens that the slim version, which is what these bins are printed for, bins fit perfectly on top. And because of the way the lids of packouts are keyed, look, you've got to have these divots in here to lock these trays in place. I can now bring this down, and with just the slightest bit of pressure, really, you know, one finger, not much at all, I can now lock this up and carry it with me wherever I'm going throughout the house. Now, of course, the real magic with Packout comes when you want to connect two together. So this is like my keystone jack, like patch panel Packout. Yeah, a bit bougie, huh? But anyway, this is where sort of like all the screws live that go into the racks that I use. I use these Gatorworks sort of steel threaded things. In, you know, this sort of rack would cost $100 to buy. You know, throw it together out of some scraps of plywood, and it's been here for 6 years. So I really like these sort of Gatorworks things back here. They're very flexible. And then in the second pack out, like I said, the screws in there, another errant patch cable, fiber couplers, surprisingly useful, these things, HDMI couplers, USB-C, Ethernet couplers, all that kind of thing. And everything that I would need to actually complete this job. So just a random crappy little screwdriver, sometimes that saves you a trip up and down the stairs. So if I just latch this on here, you'll see the absolute magic of Packout. So I can lock this in here using these cleats on the bottom, and then just slide it in with a bit of kinetic maintenance. And then, like that ain't going nowhere. And because of the way the Packout lids work, with these depressions, look, all of the stuff in each of these bins stays perfectly, and I do mean perfectly, in its position. And you can see it's a very easy one-handed operation. It's just a little clip under here, and there you go. So sometimes you can even just open the lid of the bottom box. You know, I've got a stack of these in my garage full of screws and all sorts. So it's really nice just to kind of invest in a system and then find I'm able to use it elsewhere. And stuff like being able to 3D print custom latches, it seems like a small thing, but it really makes it feel like mine, you know? And yeah, this is my sort of temporary media server setup down here right now. It's a long story, but anyway, there you go. 3D printed little rack accessories, latch accessories even, for the Milwaukee Packout.